So, have you ever wondered how a really big, abstract idea like mercy actually shows up in the real world? Like, what does it look like? Well, we're about to dive into a fascinating discussion from a Christian fellowship group that draws this incredible direct line between a divine quality and our everyday actions. And yeah, this is really the central puzzle, isn't it? It's one thing to talk about these big divine attributes as concepts, but how do they get out of the sky and onto the ground? The source material we're digging into today, it proposes a very specific and I think really tangible link.
The main speaker, a guy named Mike, he just cuts right to the chase. He argues that there's this specific pairing we've got to understand. The divine attribute of mercy finds its physical, real-world expression in the human virtue of forbearance.
To make this connection totally clear, he gives this amazing analogy. Think of a divine attribute as the hand and a human virtue as the glove. You know, the glove is just kind of this empty, limp shape until a hand goes inside it. The hand gives it form, purpose, and the ability to actually do something. That's the core idea we're going to be unpacking. Okay, so to follow their logic, we first have to get on the same page about what they mean by mercy. And let me tell you, it's not just about being nice or feeling sorry for someone. They draw a really sharp and important distinction here. So this is where their definition gets really interesting. They set up this stark contrast. Righteousness, they say, is all about strictness and fairness, giving people exactly what's coming to them. But mercy, whoa, mercy is about going way beyond the scales of justice and giving someone something better than what they've earned or what they deserve. And to make this really hit home, the speaker gives this powerful example. He says, giving money to a friend, that's an act of grace. But giving money to a beggar on the street, someone who is, in their words, totally unworthy, that is mercy. It's a quality that reaches down to those in a really pitiful or kind of wretched state. But here's the catch. The group argues that real, genuine mercy isn't sloppy. It can only come from a place of being righteous with yourself first. Like the speaker says, a person who sleeps in every morning will naturally be merciful to other people who sleep in, but that's not the real deal. True mercy comes from being strict with yourself first. All right, so if mercy is the divine attribute, the hand, then what's the glove? Well, the source presents it as the virtue of forbearance. This is the practical, lived-out action. It's the thing that makes mercy visible to the rest of us. So what in the world is forbearance? Well, it's definitely not being a doormat. The group describes it as this kind of calm, confident strength. It's being considerate and reasonable and gentle, especially when you have every single right to be the opposite. It's this idea of not always claiming what's legally yours, of choosing to be considerate instead of confrontational. It's really all about how you carry your power. Now, to show forbearance in action, the speaker turns to this incredible story from the Bible. Right after his resurrection, Jesus meets two of his own disciples on the road to a little village called Emmaus. But here's the thing, they have no clue who he is. And this is the mind-blowing part. These two guys start telling Jesus all about, well, Jesus. They call him a prophet, and then they proceed to explain the events of his own crucifixion to him. Can you even imagine the level of forbearance it took to just walk alongside them, listening patiently as they explained events he understood better than anyone in the universe? He doesn't correct them. He doesn't get frustrated and yell, "Guys, it's me." He just walks with them, he talks with them, and he even sits down to have a meal with them. And it's only then that he lets them see who he is. The group holds this up as the ultimate picture of a life that is just defined by forbearance. Okay, so we've got the divine attribute, mercy, and the human action, forbearance. But how does the hand actually get into the glove, right? How is this connection even possible? Well, the group is really clear that it's not what you might think. And this is absolutely crucial. They make the point that it's not about trying harder. It's not something our ego can just muscle through with sheer willpower. They basically say that if you just try to be more forbearing on your own, you're just going to fail, and eventually you'll explode. There has to be another source, another power. And this verse is what they point to as the key. The connection isn't made by trying harder on the outside, but through a change on the inside. The idea is that just like Jesus lived because of his connection to God, a person can live because of an internal connection to Jesus, by, as the verse kind of metaphorically puts it, eating him or taking his life in as their own source of life. And this brings us right back full circle to that central analogy. When that internal connection is real, the divine life of mercy, the hand, can just naturally express itself through the human action of forbearance, the glove. It becomes way less about trying and a whole lot more about expressing what's already inside of you.
All right, so what does this all actually mean for us day to day? This is where the rest of the group starts chiming in, and they ground these big ideas in the real world of leadership and work and just relationships. It all comes down to how we see people, and in turn, how they experience us.
One of the members, Matt, he reflects on his own leadership style. He says his younger self was a pistol whip, harsh, but getting immediate results. But his older, more merciful self has learned that showing mercy, well, it builds something way more valuable in the long run, loyalty. And then another member offers this just brilliant insight. Forbearance, or gentleness, it's not weakness. It's actually the powerful and super persuasive combination of deep confidence and genuine humility. It's a kind of calm strength that doesn't need to yell to be heard.
This quote right here feels like the perfect summary of the entire discussion. It just ties the whole thing together beautifully. It connects the internal with the external. The divine attribute, mercy, is this internal heart thing that changes how you see other people. And the human virtue, gentleness, is the external action that shapes how other people see you.
And that really just leaves us with a final thought to chew on. If an internal posture of mercy can truly change how you see the world and everyone in it, what might the external practice of forbearance, of that calm, gentle strength, change about how the world sees you?